So today I'm comparing the Samsung Galaxy S25 Edge versus the Galaxy S25 Ultra because I generally don't believe the Edge is worth your hard-earned cash. Look, I get it, thin phones sound cool in theory, but here's the thing. Making a thinner smartphone is easy when you start gutting features left and right, and that's exactly what Samsung did with the S25 Edge. Now before you Samsung Knights start typing angry comments, trust me, if Apple pulled the same stunt, I'd roast them just as hard. The reason why I'm comparing the Edge to the Ultra isn't just because I'm mean, it's because for only $200 more, you get a phone that doesn't hate you. Heck, for $100 less, you could grab the S25 Plus, which has more features than this Edge. Now, I decided to hand the S25 Edge to 3 normal people, and by normal, I mean folks who think RAM is something you do to cars. And the first thing they noticed was, wow, this is light. And they're right. At 163 grams, it weighs the same as the Galaxy S25, despite having a bigger 6.7-inch display versus the S25's 6.1-inch screen. But here's the kicker. After that initial, oh, it's thin moment, nobody cared. Like, they weren't impressed. They didn't suddenly become phone evangelists. Only one person said it might be useful for carrying 2 phones, which is oddly specific and slightly concerning. Most people just shrugged and moved on with their lives. Look, I'm in the same camp. Sure, it's cool that we can make phones this thin, but I don't want to sacrifice my phone soul to get there. Samsung missed a massive opportunity here. They could have used silicon carbon battery technology to maintain decent battery life in this thin profile, but nope. Instead, we get a 3900 mAh battery that's basically the same size as the regular S25s. Spoiler alert, that's just not enough. Now, from a design standpoint, Samsung kept the Ultra's DNA. It's big, it's boxy, it's just thinner. And yes, without a case, those edges are sharp enough to slice cheese, but let's be real. Most people slap a case on their $1,100 investment. And speaking of cases, I bought Samsung's official silicone case and it completely defeats the purpose. With the case on, this thing feels as thick as a regular phone without a case. Now there is good news. The buttons are in the same spots as the Ultra, the SIM tray is on the bottom, and yes, it has dual stereo speakers. In fact, I didn't notice that much of a difference in terms of sound quality, but you guys let me know if you hear a difference. The only thing missing is a couple of cameras on the back, specifically the telephoto lens, because apparently there's no room in this thin profile for proper zoom capabilities. Now both phones rock 6.7-inch and 6.9-inch dynamic AMOLED displays respectively, with 2600 nits of peak brightness and 120 Hz refresh rate. They're gorgeous to look at, support HDR10+, but no Dolby Vision HDR, and they're still 8-bit panels. But here's where the Ultra flexes. It has Samsung's 2nd generation anti-reflective coating that reduces glare by 75%. After using the Ultra's display, going back to the Edge feels like staring into a mirror. Seriously, the Edge's display is so glossy, you could use it to check your makeup. Now, both have ultrasonic fingerprint scanners, fast and secure, and IP68 water resistance, which means your phone won't die if you drop it in the toilet. So at least Samsung didn't cheap out on the basics. Okay, now you're looking at both front-facing cameras on the Galaxy S25 Ultra and the Galaxy S25 Edge. Now, on the screens, the Ultra looks a little bit more, I don't know, my face looks a little bit more tan, but it might look different when I put it on the computer. But either way, you know, these things look pretty close. You guys let me know how it looks, and yeah, how do the microphones sound? The good news is both phones do use the latest Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 3 for Galaxy chips, so they're both fast. For everyday tasks, you won't notice a difference. I'm talking about emails, social media, pretending to be productive. It just doesn't make a difference which phone you use. But here's where the things get spicy. The Ultra has a vapor chamber cooling system, while the Edge has, well, thoughts and prayers. During intensive tasks like gaming or shooting photos on a hot day, the Edge starts to thermal throttle faster than my motivation on Monday mornings. Now, if you're into benchmarks, the Ultra consistently scores higher in sustained performance tests. Also, the Ultra can be configured with up to 1 TB of storage, while the Edge tops out at 512. But remember, that 3900 milliamp hour battery I mentioned, yeah, it's a problem. Like, you're looking at 2.5 to 4 hours of screen on time if you actually use your phone. Meanwhile, the 5000 milliamp hour battery consistently delivers 7 to 8 hours of screen on time. That's not a small difference. Like, that's the difference between making it through the day and desperately hunting for outlets at night. And charging? The Edge supports 25-watt wired charging, while the Ultra does 45. Now, in today's standards, both are still quite low, but 45 does make a bigger difference than 25. The good news is wireless charging is done at 15 watts, but the camera on the back is where the Edge really shows its limitations. The Ultra has a quad camera setup, 200 megapixel main, a 50 megapixel ultra wide, 50 megapixel periscope with 10 times optical zoom, and a 10 megapixel telephoto. It's basically a photography Swiss Army knife. The Edge, 200 megapixel main sensor, identical to the Ultras, and a 12 megapixel ultra wide lens. That's it. No telephoto, no periscope, no optical zoom. For regular daytime photos using the main camera, they're virtually identical. Maybe slightly cooler tones on the Edge, but we're really splitting hairs. It's when you start zooming that Edge falls apart faster than my New Year's resolution. 2 times digital zoom on the Edge is fine, but anything beyond that looks like it was shot through a screen door. The Ultra's dedicated telephoto lens provides sharp, clear zoom up to 10 times optical and usable results up to 100 times. The Edge can't even attempt 100 times zoom. It just gives up. Even macro photography suffers on the Edge. I took a photo of a leaf and the Ultra's result was noticeably sharper and more detailed. The good news though is that both phones do shoot 4K excellent video with similar quality and stabilization. The front-facing cameras are identical at 12 megapixel sensors that produce virtually the same result. For nighttime video, the Ultra's larger ultra-wide sensor performs noticeably better. Less noise, better detail retention, and the list goes on. The Edge gets overwhelmed with excessive photo processing and starts missing focus when images are being pushed too hard. Now, the good news is both phones do support Samsung DeX and have pro camera modes, but if you're an S Pen user, that's exclusive to the Ultra. The Edge is just too thin to accommodate a stylus slot. And look, probably one day the Ultra will get rid of the pen too. Software support, the Ultra gets 7 years of updates, while the Edge gets 5 years. Honestly, 5 years is plenty for most people, but if you're planning to keep your phone until the heat death of the universe, the Ultra is a better option. Look, I get the appeal of thin phones. There's something undeniably cool about holding a device that feels impossibly light and slim. But the S25 Edge feels like Samsung's engineering team was given the challenge to make a thin phone for the sake of making a thin phone. For $200 more, the Ultra gives you better battery life, superior cameras, thermal management that actually works, more storage options, and features that don't make you compromise your daily usage. Heck, for $100 less, the S25 Plus gives you most of the Ultra's benefits without the Edge's sacrifices. The Edge isn't a bad phone. It's just a phone that prioritizes looking good over being good. And in 2025, when we're paying over $1,000 for smartphones, I want both. If having the thinnest phone at the coffee shop is your biggest priority and you're willing to carry a power bank everywhere, the Edge might be for you. But for everyone else, save your money or spend a little more, just don't get stuck in the middle with a phone that's all style and not enough substance. The Galaxy S25 Edge, you're not a bad phone. You're just not a phone we needed. And sometimes that's worse. Anyways, you guys let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.